We made some progress since the last video I released. We've got the floors done, the walls done, and the ceiling done. So what we did for the floor is we just used some 100% waterproof vinyl plank flooring. Turned out very well, and laid this down before we put anything else inside of the cargo trailer. And it has just a small thin underlay under it, and it's continuous. There's no seams or gaps, and it's just some $2 a square foot flooring. Wanted something that was waterproof and yet durable, and that if it did get damaged, wouldn't be no big deal to have to replace this section if we needed to. It's just sitting right on top of the floor, isn't glued down, so it's free floating. So we also got the walls all done. We just used 4x8 sheets of MDF beadboard in here, and this turned out extremely well as well. Now when I put these walls up, I pre-painted them to make sure that it would be a little bit easier and we wouldn't have to do a lot of the trim around, for instance, this E-Trax. And also when I put these panels up, I used the least amount of screws as possible to prevent having screw holes in the wall. There are some areas that I will have to put some screws in the wall, but any place that, for instance, this E-Trax would go, that would hold that wall panel in place. You know, I put screws up in the very top edge to hold it, but until everything is installed in the trailer, I will hold off and putting screws in the panels unless I absolutely have to, just so that there's no screws to wreck the nice smooth finish of these panels. I also, before I put the wall paneling up, I marked all of the studs, the top and the bottom, to make sure that if I did have to put screws in or find the stud in behind the walls, that I was able to do so. So I just used some blue tape down here, and so these would mark the spots where I would have a stud in behind. So if I did need to put screws to secure cabinetry in here, or just to secure the panel to the wall, I wouldn't miss and put extra holes in the wall where it's not needed. And I also marked the ceiling for where the studs were, because some of these studs in here are out by, 3/4 of an inch to an inch. So it's a good idea to mark it, just to save some headaches in the end. And down here, so for instance, along this wall here, I'm going to have a cabinet that's going to be bolted to the wall, and then that will hold the wall panels in place. And then along the top edge, I'm going to have a nice trim cove piece that I'm going to put in there, so that'll cover that gap. Pretty simple to install. Make sure you install them nice and square. Use a square so that your gaps are nice and even and it looks consistent throughout the trailer. So moving on to the ceiling, we just used the PVC panel on the ceiling, and it turned out extremely well. They're 10 inches wide. They're 100% plastic. They're almost like a corrugated plastic panel, 100% waterproof, and you can set the gaps on them to be about 1/8 of an inch, and it has a wood-like texture finish on it. In this area here, I'm just going to use a 2-inch flat plastic trim piece to to cover up that gap, and it'll also serve two purposes of actually holding those panels in place, and it'll be a nice trim feature. So they come in 10-foot lengths. I got a 12-foot trailer, so I did have a little bit of gap in the back here as well because of the V-nose, so I'm gonna get that all trimmed out. To put these panels on, I used just some rivets, just 1/8 inch rivets to put them in place. It's a little bit laborious to get those rivets in there, but it's effective. You can still remove them, and it allows the panels to go in nice. And because they're a tongue and groove, you need to have as small a fastener as possible in there, so that they can fit in nice and seamless and get the job done properly. At the end of the video, I'll have some pictures of the product, what I'd used for the ceiling, the walls and the floor, and where I got it, and how it looks. I'll do some profile pictures on it as well. So that'll be at the end of this video. So it's coming along quite well. Next video is going to be about the cabinetry and finishing that. I'm just going to be working on that video and get that all set up. So very happy with the results. Everything's coming together, and stay tuned for more updates and progress. This is the type of flooring that I used. Again, it's 100% waterproof, just laminate standard flooring. Just got at the local Rona store. You can get this at probably any hardware store or Costco, any store like that. Anyways, it has this nice foam underlay, which actually quiets it down quite a bit. It's a 6-inch wide by 4 feet long. And again, it's seamless. So when you put it down, it looks like one big sheet of vinyl flooring. And I wanted to go that route just because I will be putting my motorcycle inside my trailer, and I didn't want to get any sand or gravel in the grooves, or have any place for water or whatnot to pool in there. Super easy click flooring to install. See if I can do this one-handed, and basically it's pretty simple to do this one-handed. I just give her a couple wiggles and shakes, and it goes together just lickety-split. Not an issue at all. There's a little bit of a gap here, so just make sure you always get that gap out of there. And maybe it's not a one-handed operation. Anyways, we'll do this. And get the picture. Anyways, there you go. You heard the little magic click. So anyways, nice flooring, inexpensive. And again, it doesn't hurt the pocketbook if you got to end up replacing it. Has a nice like a wood texture on there. Not sure if you could see that in the video, but yeah, really happy with it. Went together well. Nice square panels. So here's a close-up of the ceiling panel that I installed in the trailer. I figured I would show you guys what they look like in the unassembled state. So as you can see, the corrugation, it's 100% plastic, and you can see the tongue and groove where they fit in. And then you can also see the texture and the wood grain in the panel as well. So it's actually quite nice. It gives it a nice professional looking finish. Very, very happy with it. And again, you can see the width here. We're almost at exactly 10 inches. If you put a gap in between, it'll be exactly 10 inches. And when I installed it, I actually put that 1/8 gap right here, right in between here. So the way they go together, very, very simple. Just as easy as that, you adjust it to wherever you want it to be. And you can even go a little bit wider if you want. Whatever, sometimes if you add an extra 1/8 of an inch on each panel, it can make for more of an exact fit on your ceiling, so you don't have to trim or cut any panels. They do have in between these gaps, I don't know if you could see it in the video, but there's they do have a bit of a paint color matching. I don't know if you can see it right there. So there is a little bit of that texture in the groove that if you go with more than 1/8 of an inch gap, you'll be able to see that. And it doesn't quite 100% match, but for the most part, nobody's looking up at your ceiling, so you can play around with the gaps. So when I installed the rivets in there, I put the rivets right in this area right here. And it's actually, it's quite solid in this area, so it secures it quite well. And my roof trusses were about 2 foot gap, and it held quite good. There's quite a bit of strength and rigidity to this. You could push pretty hard, and you're hard pressed to get much flex out of it. And then when you combine that with the strength of having this put together, it makes for quite a solid roof, and again a very, very good finished product. This is the example of the wall board that I used. Just comes in 4x8 sheets. Again, get it at your local hardware store. It is a 1/4 inch thick, and the bead spacing on here is about, let's see here, about 1 3/4 inches, maybe 2 inches, 2 inches thick. Again, super nice to put up, nice solid paneling. You can screw into it and it will hold things down as long as there's not a lot of weight on it. So you can drill and screw into this paneling and it will hold some weight. I wouldn't put a lot of weight on it though.